Everybody, welcome back to the 21st episode of the Editor Cast featuring Kira this week today. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Okay, how are you doing, actually?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I am perfect, actually. Uh, well, so, actually, we had to delay this recording a couple times. Well, the first time for a full day and the second time for just like 30 minutes. But yesterday why I had to delay it was because I had to go somewhere. So, and I didn't know until the last minute, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, the when like starting it off, if you've watched any previous episodes, the first question that I always ask everybody that every guest has to answer is how and when did you start editing?
Oh, this could be a great one right here. well, this can go all the way back towards when I'm a little kid, or I started my YouTube channel in 2012. But before then, I just want to mention that I was given like a Windows XP computer, like when I was like 7 or whatever years old, something like that, around there. I was always been intrigued about Windows Movie Maker. When I first opened it, I was really like curious of what I can do with it. I used to make just random things with pictures and whatnot in it. But then time comes around 2010-ish, I got an Xbox 360, and I met some friends on there, played Call of Duty. That's where I really like got into Call of Duty around there. And time comes 2012. I was trick shotting with friends, and us friends needed an editor because we were watching FaZe and Soar and all those teams back then. They had people editing. Uh, One of the people that we did look up to was Barker. Rest in peace to Barker. He kind of went down the
Yes.
wrong tunnel. um, I'm not going to mention any more about that, but comes then we needed somebody to edit the videos, and I came up to it because of the fact I was already interested in editing, and definitely the first person I looked up to because of that was Baker Toots. Like, he was like the first person to come to at the time.
Mhm.
The guy's a great humble guy. He has a family now. He's a really cool guy. So yeah, I started in 2012 all because of that.
All right. Yeah. Actually, so this is actually becoming a trend nowadays. Every single time I've gotten a sort of old editor on the podcast who's been editing for a good time now. They started with Baker Tits, and two, they started because they wanted to make something and they just didn't know an editor or just couldn't get an editor at the time. So a lot of the things were made because so a lot of editors were made because of Phase's trick shot stuff, but not being able
Yeah,
to edit
it
get an
influenced a
editor.
lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's Phase after all.
Yeah, back then, Faves was completely different. Not a business like they are now. But back then, it was a team of just basically teenagers trick shotting and whatnot and hitting feeds and stuff. It was a great time.
Mhm.
Great time.
So yeah. So did you actually like you said he has a family and stuff. So did you actually know like Baker personally?
I don't know Baker personally. I just know what he's said to me, and also that he shows on Twitter. But I
Mm.
mean, I've spoken to him before. He's a really nice guy.
Okay. Well, because I was actually, curious about Baker, because I think I've seen a couple of his tutorials about just, doing stuff that I couldn't figure it out. I just did a YouTube search. But I didn't know that he was this really influential, sort of, figure in the community in
Oh
the
yeah,
early.
yes, of course. If you ask any editor from my time, they'll say Baker, 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 because Baker was
Yeah.
like the number one guy showing tutorials, and he was like a guiding stone, I guess you could say, in my editing career, because I didn't know nothing, like I just got in and it's like I don't know what to do. first thing I thought to myself was to look up tutorials, and Baker had the best tutorials out there at the time.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, okay, so you started with Baker Tuts, and you were one of the people who never shifted towards the Fortnite side of things. You were always in the COD and the CS community. I think actually mostly you were COD.
Editing wise, yeah. I do edit Fortnite content here and there now,
Oh,
but
okay. So you
but as
do.
in like montage editing or something like that, yeah, I mainly stuck to COD and CS and stuff like that.
Okay, so you do actually do some content editing too?
Oh yes, yes, of course,
All
yeah.
right. Well, I only knew about the montage editing and more recently the recoil editing.
Oh
uh,
yeah, I'm starting that trend.
yeah, that.
Try to get the other PC editors out there, to recognize the game because I really enjoy the game. It's a fun game. I'm pretty sure the developer who made it, would also love to see this. So,
Wait, is it like a game inside like one of those mini games in Roblox, or is this a standalone game?
yeah, it's in Roblox. Yeah, if you were to
Okay.
go in Roblox and type in recoil, you'll see it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll play it sometime. So you're just playing the game and you just started just decided to edit that.
My free time, yeah, I was like, why not? It's a fun game. Having more fun on the game than I ever did with Cold War. So it's like, you know what? Why not give it a go? And now I'm starting to see even like people from big teams like Virtue or Obey or stuff like that. I'm seeing people from there that are starting to play the game too now.
Okay. Well, you actually also started another trend, which was the Samsung Sam editing trend. Uh,
I
you-
wouldn't say it necessarily started it, but I definitely boosted it for sure.
because you said that you actually didn't even edit that. You just put the footage
Oh,
into like one of your
yeah,
project files.
yes. Interesting story on that. That was actually, that was an old project file from 2018. An old anime edit that I was working on that just never finished. And what it did was I opened the project file.
Yeah.
Since the actual clips were like tiny little like clips, I replaced them all. I literally replaced all footage with just the Samsung Sam stuff, and then it just kind of synced on its own. I did absolutely nothing.
Okay. Well, that's. I mean, the edit actually looks good, and when I first saw it, I couldn't have told that it was just a replaced footage.
I know, that was the best part about it.
Like,
It just ended up working.
Yeah, it was
It's like,
pretty good.
you know what? I'm just putting this on Twitter, and you
Yeah.
even see I put a watermark on it because had a feeling it was going to do something.
Mm-hmm. So, well, this is something that I want to discuss on the podcast, and I told you about in DMs. Is when this podcast was starting back in around September, October. I was like, I got this idea, and I actually saw. So I got this idea about a podcast where we feature like artists, and mostly it was gonna be editors because I'm an editor myself. And I posed that, like, I put that idea in front of my close friends, and so a couple of them tell me that there's this T3C podcast, and like, already, and I was like, oh, and then I look, and then I like, remember that T3C is closed because of, I think in May, and then I was about to do it, and then someone else came along and they said that you were doing a podcast. And then since I'm sort of frankly like new to editing as a whole, I started in 2019, something like that. And then people were just like that Kira has more experience and he knows more people, he has more contacts, and the podcast just won't work. And I actually was very, very scared when I actually started with this. So would you like to tell us what happened to your podcast and how that went? If how many episodes were there actually?
Okay, all right. Starting from square one, there was two podcasts, and all right, hold on. There was two podcasts, yeah. So
Yeah.
there was one that Infamous and I started. One of the T3C managers at the time. and now it's gone off to be actually a pretty cool content editor this time. Like he's working for Pokemon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Infamous and I were starting a podcast. It was called the Boys Podcast. This was back when the Boys server was a thing in 2018. We got one episode out. I think we got two. I don't remember if we got a second one out or something. It didn't necessarily work out because the people that we had on weren't like energized enough. They weren't really feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
So it just felt a little boring, and our preparation wasn't the best because at the time Infamous was busy, and I just didn't have the drive or motivation to do really much then. And then came along another podcast that I tried to start, was like in early 2020, I think, or late 2018, somewhere around there. I wanted to start something and try to help the Fortnite community because I've noticed that a lot of them are taking like steps backwards, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like these people are a lot of these people seem like they're starting on the wrong foot, and a lot of these people are viewing tutorials that are really like they're teaching really bad habits and stuff like that. So I wanted to help correct that. But my problem was that I lacked the motivation and time to keep doing it. And I also, at the time, I was trying to find people to edit content for it because, I kind of needed the money at the time. And good thing I found the people I have so far. But then I wanted to continue it at one point, but then my mom passed in May. So, May of 2020, and I kind of just never had the motivation or passion to do it since then because I've just had time to mentally recover from what happened.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss, officer. That must have been, devastating. So I hope she rests in peace. And so other than that, about your so the other one you said was you started in the start of 2020.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that was the one the people were referring to when they said about mine, because mine was in September 2020, I think, when I did the first episode.
Right.
Actually, I was split up about doing it until the first guest that I wanted, Sense, his name is Sense, I think you know him.
Yeah, I know Sense.
Yeah. And that was the first guest, and so I was just talking to him one day, and I hadn't finalized on the podcast, and I just mentioned the idea to him, and I told him that I wanted him to be the guest if I did it, and then he was like, "Why would you not do it? That's a good idea." And then I talked to him, and he actually convinced me to do it. He was like, "Yeah, you should do it," and so that's where we started from, and I think this has probably been one of the most successful things I've ever done, and I feel you where you said that guests can be boring and de-energized, because I've had a couple of episodes like that myself. But I think you have to. With guests, I try to find something that they're passionate about. The guest. So it's even with editing, there's a lot of different branches of editing, and there's always one thing that someone really likes. So for someone SFX is really important, someone else is really creative or something like that. And then when you find something that someone's really passionate about, maybe IRL filmmaking or maybe photography or something like that, then they get energized. I find that happens. And so if someone is de-energized at the start of the podcast, then I'll keep noting down things that maybe make their voice rise or something that they genuinely show interest in. So that's a little tip for anybody out there. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to know. So who were the guests in your podcast back then?
Trying to remember. It's been a bit. Did I? Okay. When I was doing it, I had a few friends. It was I doubt you'll know his name, but you ever seen the name KDR around?
KDR?
Yeah.
No, I know JKR.
KDR is an old time console editor friend of mine, and I mean, he's not too well known with like newer people, but with like old gen people such as like Vajex and that crowd, ODJ, and all the people, they would know who KDR is because he's been around. He's been in Lotus and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
the other person I had on was another friend named Chris. He's a newer editor, but a really cool friend. You might have seen his edit called 0 Hour. He's had clips and desks at times and stuff like that. He's a cool guy.
Oh, I think yeah,
But
I've seen 0 Hour.
either way, it didn't. I didn't really pop off yet because I was trying to build something, but my motivation just died. So, if I see someone like you trying to do this as well, I'd rather you do it because I just don't have the time for it anymore. And I'd rather have the torch passed to someone that's motivated and ready to do it. And it seems like you've been successful about it. So keep on doing it.
Yeah, well, thank you. All right, so moving on to more towards the editing side, once again. So I want to know the reason behind you not doing Fortnite montages, because a lot of these older editors have different reasons, and I'm curious what your reason was to not ever like do Fortnite montages.
Um, well, my reason could be sort of complex and also simple at the same time. One, I just despise the game. I absolutely like hate it.
Yeah.
I used to play back in like season 4, chapter 1, like all the way back then. I actually used to play a little bit with Hlim, if you know who Hlim is.
No, not really.
He's another old gen editor. He's in Soar. I'm not sure if he still is in Soar anymore, but it was Hlim, a couple good friends of mine, Alex B2G, and a couple other people. We played Fortnite, and it got boring for me really fast because one, I was a heavy PUBG player at the time. I really enjoyed PUBG and I liked the more realism type feel. I wasn't a big fan of the whole building thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, the idea I guess was cool, but I don't know. When it comes to a FPS type game, I rather have the aiming skill than the like any other skill because I built that for years. So game got annoying to me. The the artwork and the design of characters kind of trigger me at times. I'm not a big fan of the cartoony look they were going for. Because especially one, it's on the Unreal Engine, so they can definitely pull something. It's just I don't know. I guess they had to do something to appeal to kids and all age range.
They wanted like
So
something where they didn't have to put like blood and stuff, so there would be a lower PG rating.
right, exactly. So yeah, you get it exactly. But other than that, I've known that a lot of these Fortnite editors had to deal with a really buggy replay system. Like as updates rolled out, a lot of like the demos that people have hit get corrupted. There was times where people had black screens and couldn't record. Times that just the game just randomly switched to night. Games
Yeah.
where it goes like black and like heavy exposure. Even I actually dealt with that because I did record Fortnite once because I was forced to do it for Obey RC. And during that time, the replay system was bugged, really, really bugged. And I had to scrap the whole thing because I couldn't get it to work correctly.
Yeah, well, actually, Fortnite's replay system is pretty bad, and we don't even have like any dolly cam or like anything like that.
That I don't care about because again, I'm an old editor, so back then we didn't deal with dollies. We literally had to use our controllers, go to spectate, and just crop out like HUD overlays and
HUD,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Like I'm used to doing that. That's just something from my time. A lot of people don't deal with that anymore. But
Yeah, well, the problem with me was I didn't have a controller, and then when I I started with Fortnite, but when I found out that COD has like this automatic dolly cam system, I was so like enraged. I was like, why don't we have this? And then when I found out it was because of anti-cheat systems, it was, yeah. And and even without that, the replay system is pretty bad. I think like there was like literally a bug that we had to discover to remove the storm from the sky, because the storm looks very bad. And so we discovered so we discovered like a way, a technique sort of to remove that. And that we had to do this thing at the start of the replay, and if we messed that up, we had to exit the replay, go back and load the whole thing again. It was very annoying, and I think it still is to this day. I think they just released something just with this new season that came out like 2 days ago, to have like a setting with the storm off, or to make the storm look better actually. But for this whole time, it's been like 4 years, and it's been like the worst system ever.
Yeah, totally agree. And also the creative mode, I really wish they did this for like editors and like people that want to make stuff for the game. They took out a glitch which shouldn't even be a glitch at all. It should be part of it. Or it was like a glitch that you can get out of like the starting like map, so you can actually like go into the full like BR map.
Yeah.
I forgot how to do it, but this guy named Vinyl showed me how to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty viral at the time.
At that time, yeah, they took out that glitch. And then the other thing, which will be really amazing for editors, is that when you're in the creative mode, you have freedom of choice when it comes to skins. Because, if I want to match skins for like a cinematic or something, I have to physically own the skin or find someone that has it.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of these Fortnite editors struggle with, is because, well, if you don't want to spend money on the game, or something like that, where you're forced to find someone to have the skin.
Yeah, we have to borrow accounts for people just for cinematics.
That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, they sort of fixed the glitch thing though, because now they have this there's portals to go to the actual map.
Oh, there is now. Okay, so they added that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. But they did that recently. After that, like we had to deal with that whole thing for like a year, I think. Because before that we did have playground mode, but then again you didn't have all the flying and the other creativities with stuff with the creative mode that you get. Actually, it's still like the playground mode. You still don't get to fly around, I don't think. But yeah, I actually don't. I have like a really bad PC, so I don't do my cinematics myself most of the time, because like I can't record on more than like low settings, then I'll get like 20 FPS.
I understand. I used to deal with the same thing back in the day.
Yeah, and so like most of the time I just ask my friends to do my cinematics for me, and that's why I haven't had to like suffer too much, just a little bit. But I remember, okay, so I have a bad PC right now, but I used to have a really, really bad PC before this, and all I've done really is upgrade the GPU since then. But if you remember, there was this competition held by Fortnite themselves. It was called #Replay Royale. And
was that the one that Deer entered?
I think so, yeah, because like that was like really huge, and everybody participated in it. It was like with the release of replay mode, they hosted this competition for like people to
Deer
make.
definitely entered that. I remember that.
Yeah, and I had this GPU, like I think it was called the GT 990 or something like that. It was 95.
You had that all for GPU?
Yeah,
oh
I had the 9500 GT. Yeah, it was literally released in like 1998, and I used to get like 10 FPS, 15 FPS at lowest settings, and I actually used this NVIDIA Inspector to literally convert the whole game.
Inspector?
Yeah. We literally converted the whole game into like a bunch of meshes. It wouldn't even render properly. And I recorded my replay royale thing on that, and I posted that, I remember. And that was such a mess, but I was so proud of it back then, because I did that on
editing on that old GPU, I gotta give you props, because you're bottlenecked hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, I have like an RX 550, yeah. So, and then my CPU is still like 11 years old. It's like the i5 second gen. But I'm really close to having the money for my new PC. So
GPU market is still horrible right now.
yeah, well, for now I've copped the Ryzen 5 5600X, which is the latest gen Ryzen CPU, and Ryzen CPUs are really good for
Yes,
production.
5600X is definitely a great CPU.
Yeah.
I picked up a 5800X on launch.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
I'm on a 1060 currently. A
okay.
6 GB 1060. I've been looking for an upgrade. Like I'm trying to get like a 3080. Problem is I have the money put aside. It's just getting the stock and like paying close to MSRP.
Yeah.
That's hard to find, which I've been just looking out for.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I want to get the CPU, and like because of like my CPU, my current CPU is so old that the motherboard is old, and then the RAM is old, so I have to get everything new.
Yep,
Um,
you're definitely on. Wait, what CPU you said you have?
I have an i5 second gen.
Second gen, second
Yeah,
gen. Second gen still on DDR3 RAM, I think.
yeah, it's on DDR3. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I bought the CPU, and now I need to buy the motherboard, new RAM, new PSU, and a new
w-
casing because not all of this won't fit in
new-
the old casing.
by any chance, do you have the HP pre-built?
Yeah, I have the HP refill.
Is it
Uh,
one of those old office PCs, the ones that can like flip sideways and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's like a mini tower, but you can like lay it down.
I had one of those.
Yeah.
The reason why I recognize because the second gen i5.
Yeah. It is definitely a pain, but I
What
mean,
was it? You have the what's it called? The Sandy Bridge, I think.
yeah, Sandy Bridge, yeah.
Yeah, Sandy Bridge i5. Was it the 2400? I think.
Yeah, 2400. Okay. Yeah, the same PC.
Yep. At the time I had a different GPU in it though. I actually had a Quadro GPU in it at the time, an older
Oh,
Quadro, and then I upgraded to a 750 Ti.
okay.
But then I got rid of that and finally built my first PC.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm close to building my first PC, but in that, I think I'm gonna get a 3070 or a 3080 because if I'm gonna spend the money, it's gotta be a big investment so I can like chill for 5 6 years. But I think I'm gonna wait until the end of year because the crypto market is expected to crash by the end of this year, and that is apparently somehow going to bring down GPU prices. It's a whole thing. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I'm gonna wait until the end of year for that. I have already bought the CPU, but I'm waiting on the motherboard and everything to get like my CPU set up. So
If
yeah,
anything, if you want to get your computer up and running, the best advice I can give is like perhaps maybe cop like a 1660 for the time being.
I probably will.
That's probably like the best GPU you can get at the time, like for now, for like the price range that's still selling for.
Yeah, I think it's you can get for like $300, which is basically the price of the 3060 Ti. But yeah, 300, 350. I think I can get a 1660 for that.
You'll still get great performance out of it. You are getting a little ripped off for what it is, but
Yeah,
it's better than nothing.
definitely. I probably will. Because I mean, with this RX 550, it's like I want to do 3D, and this just I don't think it's gonna work.
That won't handle 3D too well.
Yeah.
It'll
So
take you a long time for like maybe even like 5 frames of a render.
yeah, well, actually, we were discovering the new Unreal Engine recently, the Unreal Engine 5,
Is it
and
efficient?
uh, it's the beta. The beta is out, like the early access. You can download it,
Yeah, I saw
and
Dyson made something with it.
yeah, Dyson made that plane animation. That was really cool. Yeah.
The Star Wars was it I forgot what they're called. The
Uh,
jet fighters, I think they're called.
yeah, yeah, something like that.
TIE fighters, TIE fighters, TIE fighters.
All
That's what
right.
they are.
Yep. Well, the thing is, those. Oh, what the heck? What?
Huh?
It's like I don't know. Something is playing in the background. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm back. We're gonna have to cut this out.
It's
Wait.
just a small like 3 second, 4 or 5 second cut somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, so what I was saying is, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Unreal Engine 5. They have this new technology where you don't need to bake lights anymore. It's called lumen lighting, and so basically, you know how if you've worked with 3D in the past,
Oh yeah,
whenever
yes, of course.
whenever you like light a scene, you have to bake the lighting for like the shadows and everything to take place, and that takes like a ton of time.
Right.
So they just completely removed that process. That's real time now.
Oh, okay, okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah, you can do that. Like you can move around objects and everything in real time without baking the lights, and that is crazy. Because when the trailer came out, when they showed this off, like this ability of it, I think like 5 months ago, um, and I showed it to a few of my 3D friends, and they were just like, "This is they have some sort of trickery going on. This is bullshit. This cannot be real." And then it came out, and it was real, and everybody was blown away. And now
Yeah.
that's not the only new thing. That there's like this nanite thing where you can have like millions of polygons.
Oh
in
yes,
the,
that was the coolest thing. Like hearing that you can just take like a full-on model from like ZBrush and put it
yeah.
right in without optimizing. That is crazy. Like you can't do that like in any other like engine or something like that. Like that's you have to optimize to get like even decent performance out of it. It's like that's insane to me. And
Yeah.
many people don't actually know this about me. Uh, I used to use Maya all the time because in college and whatnot I had to do a 3D modeling class and whatnot. Um,
Mm.
I was never on the animating side. I know what to do. I know how to set up rigs and whatnot. It's just I never really animated, and that's why you never seen any 3D content from me. But I do know a lot about 3D. It's just that I just don't show it.
Okay. Well, like that, it's like Unreal Engine is 5 is like efficient and it's really good. It's so well made. Like people over Epic, like just they're magicians of some sort. I don't understand how this is done, and I don't know that much about 3D, but like just seeing that is ridiculous. Just as an editor, as knowing how
Oh yeah,
long render times take. Like you take something that takes hours upon hours, and then you just put it real time. Like how? And like
it's crazy.
it takes hours for like a frame to render. So and
When
you
I
just
first saw the reveal for like the PS5 running it and whatnot, I told myself, what would happen when the CS editors get a hold of UE5? You know, I feel like we're going to see some crazy CS edits soon.
yeah. So well, actually, the people how they do 3D CS edits. That like I think Unreal Engine 5 is gonna open like a whole new door to that too, because now you can use like environments with the crazy amount of polygons.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. People can like increase the detail and fidelity of all these models and whatnot, and have no problem.
Yeah, and yeah. I'm excited because as I said, I just started like 2 to 3 years ago, and I started with Fortnite because that was like what was popping back then, and I've tried CS and COD just to get a taste of it, and I think I actually enjoyed that more than Fortnite. But I saw all these 3D CS edits, and I've always wanted to do one of those 3D. So maybe I'll do that with the Unreal Engine 5 when I get my new PC, because I want to
Still
do
to
more.
this day, my favorite 3D CS edit definitely has to come from Fuse. And I know what you might say. You might say, was it like Light Tree, whatever it's called? That's not my favorite one from Fuse. My favorite one is the Matrix inspired one because it just was too cool. The graphics itself wasn't as impressive, but for the time, like there was an actual theme put into place. There was actually something really creative that came out of it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I forgot what it was called that he named it. I think it's like actually no, it's called. I think he named it Digital Rain, if I remember correctly.
I think yeah, because okay, so many people, like most people from Fuse, they've only seen Nevermore and Nevermore 2, but a lot of people just miss out on the what's it called, Mind Tree and this Digital Rain one.
Mind Tree,
And
yeah, that was the name of it that I was
yeah,
talking about earlier. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, Digital Rain,
there's
that was my favorite.
yeah. So like all of these, like just such real good edits, and I think the Nevermore series sort of popped off because Well, I guess it was a series. That's why it popped off, because there was like continuity. I don't know. Maybe some big streamer watched it. I'm not sure. I wasn't in the community at the time. But when I saw these edits and Nikki HD's Clockwork series and um, Maro's edits, actually Finito
Right.
Brothers recently crushed it.
Oh yeah, that was cool. But here's the difference between Digital Rain and the rest of them. The rest of them are showing off the actual engine itself. They're showing off 3D. Where it comes to Digital Rain, it's showing off compositing and 3D. Most of these guys are all doing stuff in game, or well, not in game, sorry, in 3D. Like the scope
Yeah.
breaking off, etc., right? Where Digital Rain, it's not only just 3D that is being shown; it's being like you're getting shown actual like After Effects work as well. That's what I really enjoyed about it. It combined both.
True. Well, I mean,
Like Nevermore 2, if I remember correctly, there was a scene with like the infinite mirrors, I think.
no, not infinite mirrors. There were a lot of lights. There's like he goes into a room. There's like millions of lights in there, and he starts shooting them. He's breaking the lights. I don't think there's a mirror run. Is there?
No,
Mirrors?
they were mirrors. You know how like in I forgot the name of them, but there's like setups where they have like they're called mirror rooms, and you have to navigate through, and a lot of times you accidentally hit glass because it just looks like you're walking normally
Yeah.
into not into something, but you are. Those,
Mhm.
That's just showing off like the complexity of the 3D environment.
Yeah, they also showed that off in John Wick 3. I think that.
Exactly. Like, but when it comes to Digital Rain versus all of them, again, he was combining pausing in After Effects as well and showing actual like VFX type work as well. So that's why I really, really enjoyed Digital Rain over a lot of these other ones.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
It just adds like an extra level of just coolness to me.
actually, yeah, true. I mean, yeah, I would definitely recommend everybody hearing this right now to watch those two, because a lot of people just watch Nevermore from Fuse and that's it. But Fuse has actually great edits other than Nevermore. I mean, obviously those are really good too, but other edits that are more sort of underrated or unknown.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that those are my favorite 3D, CS:GO artists. Fuse, Maro, Nikki, Dyson recently. I don't know Dyson before the Sparkle editing competition, but that was crazy, blinding lights.
I sort of knew him before, but obviously that competition kind of shed some light onto him. That that was his like ticket in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Because that showed some cool stuff.
yeah, and he's definitely like, he was creative. He was good at execution. He had a story going. It was really well made, and especially like on when it was on such a big platform, that was definitely his ticket into the spotlight, sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but actually, I wanted to feature a lot of these 3D editors, get on for an episode, but I've just not been able to contact most of them. Especially Fuse. Like, I don't know where he is. Like, he doesn't make edits anymore. He's not active on his Twitter. He's just disappeared. And I don't know where he is. But if anybody is in contact with him, let me know.
I'm not really in that anymore, so I can't really contact him. So
yeah. Well, yeah, but it's like, it'd be cool to have to talk to them too, because they make crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mentioned this way too much, but everybody that comes on the podcast has inspired me in one way or another. And that's why I invite them on the podcast. It's mostly like, okay, the community gets something to learn, because we talk about editing stuff, and I post this and people listen and they learn stuff. But more so, it's also like, me talking to people that I'm inspired from. And especially, like, I think with you, it was mostly the podcasting. And it was like, okay, if this guy can do it, then I can too. Because when people told me, then, that this guy's doing it and he's better than you at editing and all of that. And then I
Don't
was like,
listen to them. It doesn't matter if you're better or worse than me or better than worse than anybody else. If you want to do it, go right ahead.
yeah, I mean, and it didn't make sense because if I was talking to people, and if I was talking to good editors, then ultimately that would give me more insight into how a good editor's brain works, so, quote unquote. But
I don't care if you're good or bad. If you're a decent person, I'll talk to you.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and I mean, then like, and it was like I thought the initial, the impression that formed into my head, and I'm gonna say sorry in advance for this, but it was like, people were telling me no, Kira is better, and I have, those really toxic editors in the CS:GO and the COD community. Some people are really just toxic. I thought you were part of that community. And you were, this really high standards and really, harsh person on people, who were worse than you, because people just made me think like that, because it's like, yeah, he's better than you. You shouldn't do this. His podcast is gonna demolish yours. It was, yeah, and then that sat into my head, and then one day I just opened up your Twitter and it seemed so chill, and then I think it was. So the thing is, I plan these podcasts in like 2 months, 3 months in advance. So I have literally the next like 5 episodes already planned, like the guests
Right.
and everything. So when I found your Twitter, and I was like, okay, this guy's so much cooler than I, thought. Like, and I had this impression, and then I was like, okay, and I was gonna ask you back then, but then I was like, because I asked Korikezia and other people, and everybody was busy at the time, I think, with the editor trial stuff. So I was like, maybe he's busy too. And then, this week I was just like, okay, let's talk to him. And then I DM'd you, and you said that, I wasn't expecting to get like such a positive response, because I didn't even know that you knew about the podcast.
Yeah, I did know about it. People like Out of Order and a couple other people showed me your stuff. It's like, if you're doing it good and keep on doing it, it's by all means continue. It's just, I don't know. I view things that way. Once again, I don't care if you're worse than me or better than me. If you're a good person, I keep doing what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And now for the viewer questions. The viewers actually asked really good questions for you. A lot of the time, so there's gonna be troll questions in here, of course.
Yes, I know.
and just for the heck of it, just to lighten the mood, I asked the troll questions too, just to have a laugh. But your followers actually have like really good questions too. Like, I haven't had these kind of such meaningful and such good questions in a while, honestly. So the first question comes from Cut Twice, and he asks, through your years of editing, how do you think the community has changed or developed in general, in good ways or bad ways?
Well, I can go on for hours. Let me take a second to simplify that, I guess. Well, there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives. The positives is that I still see newcomers all the time, which is crazy to me that I still see newcomers, even though like big giant communities like T3C, T10, and all these other communities are pretty much gone at this point. It's still crazy to me to see newcomers. The only problem about these newcomers is I don't think they have good guidance. They don't have anybody to look up to that's like decent. Especially the people that are new and going into the Fortnite community. A lot of these people are, like I said earlier, it seems like they're taking steps backwards and not forwards. For example, I don't want to, well, I'll call him out, I guess, but actually I've already publicly called these guys out before. A lot of these people have been following like Flea and Milliam, right?
Yeah.
They might be cool guys behind the scenes. I have no clue. I never spoke to them before. But their editing skills aren't really the greatest. And the problem is that so many people look up to them and they want to emulate what they do. It just, it's really bad guidance. And they showed people how to do it in Premiere and stuff like that. And it's like, Premiere is the wrong place to do it. Premiere is
Yeah.
not really meant for VFX and stuff like that. And then they show how they do sound. They always clipping noise. You're putting ear rape sound effects and stuff like that. It seems like you're taking steps backwards.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I think this community is messed up in the way that it chooses its idols, because I mean, there's still good editors. I mean, Enigma still does, he did the Liquid one, and then FaZe, Starker, Tafa, and Hamoud made such a good montage for that, and then
oh
the Liquid
yes,
one.
yes,
And if you know what you like, if you know the good people, then you can make the good idols. You can follow like the right sort of community. But I think this community chooses its idols wrongly, and honestly, I don't blame Flea or Milliam for this, because I think those guys are just content creators, and then they had these videos that blew up, and then suddenly these were god editors because the community didn't know any better. They just made these people just like the gods of editing. And I think there's been multiple times where actually I think Flea and Milliam have confessed that we're not the best editors, and they're content creators, they're not editors, and it's just like the community hasn't seen actual good montages, and then when they see someone like this who's really clouded and who's doing remotely anything cool, it's just like, oh yeah, this is my idol, and that's just like the
right.
wrong way to go. And
Oh, and I'm not sure where this starts. So I did cut you off here, but I just wanted to say this before I forget or we don't get to it.
yeah,
I'm also seeing a weird trend. I'm not sure who started, but a lot of these Fortnite editors are trying to pull quote unquote inspiration from movies. I wouldn't call it inspiration because they're just copying scene by scene, but they're literally just pulling scenes from movies and just putting it into their edit. Just Fortnite is like, sure, you can draw inspiration from movies, but do you really gotta copy it scene by scene? That's straight up copying at that point. Be your own self. Be creative about it. You don't have to. You don't have to copy scene by scene. Pull inspiration. A lot of these Fortnite editors don't understand the difference between inspiration and copying. For example, I'm going to bring up my own work. Fighting goals, 6 bullets, I assume, and probably most people that are watching this that know me know what that is.
yeah,
I pulled inspiration from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I never once copied a single scene from the anime. I created everything from my personal ideas and from my head. These people, on the other hand, are just literally copying scene by scene what they've seen from movies, and to be honest with you, it's not creative at all. It just shows that, hey, you know how to copy things, but where's your creative mindset? You're not really showing anything other than I know how to copy. But do you want to be known as a copycat, or do you want to be known as somebody that's truly a creative individual and knows how to do things?
definitely. Another good example that I would like to pull here is Dyson's Blinding Lights. Like, that edit has like 6 different inspirations from 6 different movies, and
Exactly.
he's executed it so well. Like, he does the knife throw scene from John Wick, he does the Inception thing from, like, jumping from wall to wall. There's another movie which is he inspired the scene, like the final scene where he kills the G-Man, and all of those scenes were inspired, but he put his own touch into them. And, like,
Right.
the edit felt like a Dyson edit. It didn't,
Right,
like,
exactly. That's what these Fortnite editors need to learn. They're not doing anything other than just copying what they see on screen.
yeah. And I think, yeah, it's just like we chose our leaders sort of, we chose the people on the top very unwisely. And it's just like, it's basically, editing is like the popularity game now. It's like the most popular editor is the best editor
Oh yeah,
and
a
it's
lot of
like,
these Fortnite editors are clickbaiting and all that now.
yeah, and it's like, like you see, like Milliam, people will call him the best editor, and I think I don't even blame Milliam at this point. Like there's been multiple times when the guy himself has said that I'm not an editor, I'm a content creator, and I'm not the best. But there's just like this audience, which is mostly immature audience, because Fortnite, the whole audience is kids, and they just make this person, they put him on the top, and then it's just like people don't actually see the actually talented people, and it just messes up the whole thing, and people start like copying and getting inspiration from like editors like this instead of people like Starker and Dyson and other like good
Yeah,
editors.
the whole like community is going backwards. It's like, why? It's like we came from the ground up, hoping for people to follow our footsteps, and it's like this happened, like sometimes I wish Fortnite never existed.
Well, I think it's actually, I feel like it's in its dying phases now. It's going down, and a lot of people have actually quit, including myself. I think the last time I played Fortnite was like 5 months ago, and I only edit for clients because I need the PC. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this turned out to be very stretched out answer for a one viewer question, but it's just, yeah, this community has a lot of flaws.
I have so much to say about it. I'm sorry. It's just,
Yeah.
I've been around for so long. I've seen everything almost.
All right, so that was the bad. What would you say was the good?
The good thing is that, we'll say like a positive. I did already mention that I'm still seeing newcomers. That's still a good thing. Another good thing is that, I recently tweeted about this too. I kind of see the positive light in big communities like T3C ending and stuff like that. Originally, I felt like a pressure to create something that a certain group of people would like versus what I personally would like.
Oh yeah, I read that tweet.
I feel like I have more creative freedom than I ever had before. I can be as clean or as messy as I like and feel more of an artist than I ever did.
Yeah, I mean, you impress yourself, and that's what creativity is, and that's what being an artist is.
Right. But
That's what we love about
before,
it.
at this, like, I've always had that afterthought. It's like, well, what would T3C feel like, or like why would this work for T3C or something like that? I feel like I'm not the only one that had that feeling. I feel like a lot of these editors, like back then as well, also had this feeling because it was a big thing. There was certain people that didn't care about T3C. I cared about it to an extent because again it was a big community. And that's where I first met my like two friends from the PCNing community. One of them committed suicide, rest in peace. That was Rubik's Cube. The other person was Eden. They were my first two people I met in the PCNing community. And I met them through T3C actually, so again, a positive from when that existed was, it was a community that connected us all. And Mito was another guy that really connected us all. So T3C is pretty much gone. But I still view it in a positive light, though. I feel like it was a step in the right direction, but then I also feel like it's a step in the wrong direction because the way Tiago handled it. I wish it was more of an archive than what it is now. Live edits are still not up on T3C anymore because Tiago was scared that I was going to get struck down or something. So, he can't really do much about it. I understand the situation he was put in. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah. Well, if I was asked about like the good part of the the community, I think it's getting more industrialized. The whole industry is growing very much. And like after like everything, I think in the 8 years that you've been in this community, you'll agree that nothing was as professional and as industrialized as it's becoming now. With people like
I feel
FaZe
that
actually
as
signing editors.
a negative thing too.
Yeah, I mean it can be.
Because
It can be. Yeah.
I got into this because I enjoyed it and it was more of like a hobby type thing to me.
True. I mean, the thing is, it's sort of easier to convince your family that it's an actually viable career if it's industrialized. But then again, it does take away the creative freedom. So yeah, you can view it in there's a silver lining to everything.
Yeah.
That's what that is. All right, so that was quite a long answer. The next up, a sort of a controversial question comes from Little, and he asks: AMV editing less than or better than Call of Duty editing?
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was like, yeah, you're definitely going to ask me this. Well, there is challenges to both. I like them equally. But it's either one greater than the other? I don't think so at all. Because, like I said, each one has its own challenges. When it comes to AMV editing, it's just like prereqs. If you download off of like a Call of Duty editor or something, you're kind of limited to what's already recorded, right?
Yeah.
So you have this, because you're limited, you also have this extra creativity that you have to put into place in order to make it look good. And that comes with AMV editing and stuff like that. But I view them equal footing when it comes to editing, but my preference is probably always to my roots and not be COD editing. But I still like AMV editing time to time because I also help manage a team called 9mm with a few friends, and that's an AMV team, and
Yeah, I know.
have a great time at it.
Yeah,
I
well,
also have a history of editing for Trash Gang, which is like, what are they at, like 3 million subs at this point, I think.
what actually?
Yeah, it's a whole like, it's, how should I put this? It's like a you ever seen like those music channels on YouTube that like promote music?
Not that I remember. Oh, like like Trap City.
I guess something like that, yeah. But what happens is like underground SoundCloud artists and stuff like that come to the Trash channel, and they either ask us to have a music video made for them.
Mhm.
They have the footage and we have the editors,
Yeah.
or there's a music video pre-made and they ask to put it up, or we make it AMV for them.
Okay.
Because a lot of these SoundCloud artists also like AMVs because, ever since like rappers started like talking about like Dragon Ball and Naruto in their songs and whatnot, anime became very, very known now. Like before it was kind of despised. As like in a Western society, I should say, like if you're in school or something, if someone known that you watched anime or did anything with anime, you were kind of outcasted.
I think it's more to do with the fan base than it has to do with the anime itself. I think it's similar to K-pop, and I might get cancelled for saying this, but I think it's just when sometimes the fandom gets way too extreme.
Oh,
and
yes, of course.
That starts getting annoying for people, and it's like, I don't hate K-pop or I don't hate anime, but when I'm just chilling and I make a meme about something, it's just jokes, and then people started getting
Watch
triggered.
out for the stands.
Yeah. you start getting triggered, you get death threats for like just a joke, and that's what gets annoying. I think that's what's more hated about these communities.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean,
But now that anime is more well known, a lot of these artists also want their music to be inspired by it. And another person that really pushed it was also rest in peace also to the XX Tentacion. His early days, his original music was always through AMVs because he was a big anime guy himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of pushed that as well.
Oh, Execution Tentacion was an anime guy? I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Oh, what? They talked about anime in some of his songs.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't listen to rap too much. I just knew about what happened. But
right. Well, either way, yeah. Again, there was a lot of new people that were pushing it, and Trash was just there at the right place at the right time. Okay. So again, I used to edit for Trash for a bit, but then I left, and yeah. So I have some AMV experience, but again, I always stay to my roots. Mm-hmm. But it's still fun here and there.
Okay. Well, I didn't know about Trash Gang, and apparently it has 3 million. I'm gonna check it out after this.
I think it had 3 million at this point.
But
I think it might be surpassed that actually.
Okay. But well, I do know about 9mm. I've been following 9mm for quite a long time now, and actually one of my friends recently joined 9mm. I think you know Bot VFX.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of my best friends in this community.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah. Next question comes from Star, and they ask SFX tutorial when.
Yes, I get asked this all the time by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, that may come sometime in the future. I've been thinking about it. It's just that a lot of times that every time that I want to attempt to do a tutorial, I'm always asked to do something, as in like somebody needs help, or I have work to do, or that I'm just tired and I just want to unwind on like a game or something. So just finding the right time to do anything is kind of a hard thing for me to do. And I get that people want a sound effects tutorial. I researched for like the whole downtime when my mom passed away. Like I spent probably like a whole year just researching sound and sound theory. So I feel like my knowledge in sound would definitely help a lot of people. It's just the problem is that finding time to make the tutorial.
Yeah,
In the
okay.
meantime, people can visit Turclub's sound effects tutorial because I helped them out a bit on that tutorial. It's just that that tutorial was pretty rushed, and I feel like Turclub at the time didn't understand the concepts that taught him completely. So
Yeah.
I probably should make it one. It just finding time to do it is really hard for me.
I think I watched like Turklub's thing 3 times, but it was just like he was going through it so fast that you can't like really, you know, understand what he's doing and implement that into your own edit. It's just like you can
Yeah, I
either
know, I
copy
know.
paste it, which always doesn't go. So
Yeah, like from a standpoint of me, because I'm kind of telling him, I understand what he's doing. It's just that I feel like he was still missing some concepts and wasn't explaining stuff well enough because it seemed like he didn't completely understand it himself yet.
okay, well,
But
uh,
yeah, so yeah, that tutorial has some holes in it. It can teach you some stuff if in the meantime while I'm finding time to do mine.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll get to it. I just don't know when.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Because I think I've actually like found making time for this podcast is easier than making time for a tutorial. I don't know why, but it's like whenever you sit down to record something like that, when you have to edit it later and just teach someone something, it's more of a responsibility.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta make sure that the people on the other end, your target audience understands what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
the whole struggle with I forgot what they call it exactly, but the whole struggle with like if you know your subject, you gotta like talk down lower to the other people so they understand. Like in like you
Yeah.
can't use the knowledge and like
You
the
have to.
language that you learn from that. You have to dumb it down a bit so people get to understand.
Yeah, you have to like put yourself in their shoes and then
Exactly.
do that. Well, okay, so we talked about if why you didn't switch to Fortnite ever, but Soup asks currently Kira is a pretty big slash great COD editor, but would it be possible to ever see Fortnite from Kira? So in the future.
Well, again, we already answered most of that. The only Fortnite you're probably going to ever see from me is editing content for other content creators. That's about it.
So
I don't have any intentions in the future to really edit Fortnite.
I think actually like
Maybe once in a blue moon, maybe. I seriously doubt I would ever edit Fortnite ever again. But if I was given a weird opportunity and just randomly out of nowhere from some big person or something that really wants me to make something, I might consider.
Well, yeah, right now hashtag recoil supremacy. Uh,
Yes.
okay. Well, so next up, double C. Okay, double C asks, why do you place so much value on SFX?
Oh, yes. Yes, there's a huge reason on that. Because bad SFX can just ruin everything about an edit. If you're hearing ear rape everywhere and again, sound is like the other half of the equation. When it comes to visuals, you might have stunning visuals, but if you have bad sound, it's going to take you away from the edit. It will take you out in the environment of what they're trying to show you. Like for example, let's just say you know, I don't know, we were just talking about him. Let's just say Nevermore 2, for example, from Fuse. If he had bad sound effects, I guarantee you like 90% of the people watching it for like visuals and whatnot are gonna be turned away from it because imagine Nevermore 2 with just random or like random ear rape everywhere or something. And that would just completely ruin the vibes, if you get what I mean.
I think Enigma put it best. Watching an edit without sound effects is like watching porn without sound.
Oh yeah, I remember when he said that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the best way to put it because some visuals work without sound. It's
Mhm.
just you gotta find the right atmosphere to really pull that off.
Okay.
But sound alone,
I mean, yeah, sound is
um,
like, sound and video, like when they work together, that's when you really get lost in a video, and really get invested into what you're seeing.
exactly. If you do good sound effects that enhances the experience, it just enhances the experience. But it's very easy to use sound that doesn't enhance the experience. If you don't know much about sound and sound theory itself, it's so easy to have the brain just get disconnected from the whole thing you're viewing.
Yeah,
That's why I place a high value in sound because if not done correctly, it can throw people off and it can really, really you know, just take you out of everything. And it's just you don't appreciate it as much.
definitely true. Okay, so next question comes from iVos, and they ask, do you think the future of editing is in good hands?
Um, as all right, we kind of touched on this too. As a like a hobby type thing, I'm feeling neutral towards negative side on that.
Yeah,
But for like a career, I'm seeing some upsides because,
sure.
like you said, more and more people are open about like having like an editor for like content or pulling in montage editors from for orgs and stuff like that. So I see a bright future when it comes to that. But again, the people, I feel like a lot of these editors are going to be institutionalized and industrialized and standardized and not really have time to express their creative freedom. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's also going to hinder at the same time.
Yeah, true. I mean, if you look at it, like he said, it's sort of at the negative side when we say consider how if you just do it as a hobby because of again, the people we put at the top, the people we choose to look up to, and this especially in the Fortnite community, it's not going good, not right now at least. So,
Yeah,
um, well,
you learn so much more as a hobby
uh
than
huh.
versus being industrialized and institutionalized and whatnot.
All right.
I mean, like I remember, I remember going to college. By the way, I have a 2 year what does they call it? Not before bachelor's. I can't think of the name right now. Well, I have a 2 year degree is basically in media production, and when going to college and going to my video editing class, I had to take, you know, the stuff that I was being taught was super basic and nothing really expressed creative freedom. I
Mm.
was, in fact, I helped quite a few classmates in that class because, you know, I feel like the things that my professor was teaching wasn't necessarily a good thing to teach. You know, it was a weird time seeing the industrialized version of editing versus having the creative freedom.
Um, I mean, I ran about this a lot, even in this podcast. I just despise the education system, and yeah. So it's like I think in the in the professional or the industry, they only teach you what they need you to do, and then like creative freedom just goes away. It's like creativity is not a thing, and especially in this education system, we just forget that you have to be creative as an artist. And in traditional filmmaking, that's why I think if I feel like if in these traditional filmmaking industry, if editors had like creative freedom, we could see some really amazing stuff, which is
Yeah, it's just the only problem is that you kind of have if you're talking about filmmaking, you're kind of limited to what's need to be done through like the director's eyes and stuff like that.
oh but
Sometimes, depending on
uh
the film, you can talk with the director and see what they might say, but the director and the producers, they really have the majority say of what's
no
going to happen.
so I read this article about Christopher Nolan and how he was actually really strict about like the script writing and how the shots were taken and everything. But when everything went to post production, and like Christopher Nolan is known as like one of the greatest directors of all time. And he when and I read this that like whenever something went to post production, he would give the editor a whole like a specific amount of time with a scene, and he'd tell him like to do something completely creatively. And I think that contributes to how good his movies are. Obviously he's a great director, but
Not every director is like that.
yeah, exactly. Like, but he's a great director. He's like the best of the best, and he gives people creative freedom to work like that. And I think that's important. I think that's what sets his stuff apart. Even though he himself is very talented, I'm not saying that he isn't, but being giving the artist creative freedom, because that's what art is about, and you're creating an art when you're making a movie. So people forget that.
Yeah.
Next up, Denial. I chose this because he was an absolute gentleman, and he just said, "No questions. I just hope you all have a good day." So,
Well,
uh,
yeah, there you go. Yes, thank you. Have a good day
thank you.
too.
Yep, yep. You have a good day too. All right. Next up, we have Dojo Kanaka. Hey, they ask, "What do you think is the most important skill to learn or get good as an editor for both montage and content?"
All right. Well, when it comes to the montage side, I'm a very traditionalist when it comes to I feel like it's best to learn the basics first. I wouldn't explore it too deeply in the VFX side of things until you understand pacing, understand flow, understand how timer map and velocity works, understand how changing up those curves can influence the impact on the shot or the cinematic. I feel like it's important to learn cinematography rules. I feel like it's good to learn just framing and stuff like that in general too. I feel like it's always best to learn all those basics first before you dive into the VFX side of things, because you can be creative with just all that alone. For example, I feel like a good example of that is a guy named was it Lino? His the O is a 0 for anyone that wants to search it up, like the lion part.
Mm-hmm.
He had a edit up on P3C main. What was it called? Life isn't fair, and the isn't was spelled wrong. It's like is apostrophe nt fair. He had a whole edit that was nothing like VFX heavy. There was nothing. He didn't really do VFX at all. It was just cinematics and just basic stuff, but it felt very, 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 very well done and impactful enough to be up on there. So again, you can get a really good atmosphere. You can get something really cool out with just basics alone. So that's why I say basics are super important. VFX, in my opinion, can come second, because that can hinder by starting with VFX early on, that can hinder your basics heavily. For example, I know people that are like crazy in VFX, but then if you look at their edit without VFX, it looks like it looks like nothing. It doesn't look great at all. Their VFX is basically carrying their whole entire edit and to make it look nice.
It's like they put the VFX to hide the basics.
A good example of this, I mean, I guess he won't take offense to this because he understands. You ever heard of Fatal Alex?
Yeah.
His VFX is really nice. He knows how to make an atmosphere. He knows how to make a theme. But if you ever looked at his edits without any VFX, it looks very, very, very basic. And he saves a lot of things with VFX, and his pan crop is pretty decent. So that's what I'm saying. As in, I mean, if you know VFX, you can get away with it. But at the same time, let's just say you're put in a situation where you can't use VFX, or like your PC's limited or something. You won't be able to create something as nice, and I feel like you'll be demotivated, and you lose thought in like how an edit can be put together nicely. So on the montage side, I say basics are definitely a good thing to start out with first. And then with content editing, content editing is a whole different realm. I feel like it's best to know. I don't know what to say about content editing, to be honest with you, because every content creator wants something different from you. It's a weird place. It's really weird because one content creator might like your stuff, but then one content creator is like, oh yeah, I need an editor, but I need you to edit like this, for example, like this guy, you know?
Yeah.
So some content creators force you to edit like somebody else and not be yourself. But then some content creators are like, I like you as you. So it's a weird place. It's a really, really weird place.
I mean, I think I recently shifted towards content editing, just a month and a half or something. And one thing I found that even besides all of this, people having their different likes and dislikes, one thing that is important in content editing is optimizing your workflow. That matters a lot.
That is very, very important. But then the one thing that I dislike again is that some of these content creators are out there. It's like, I need you to edit like this. It's like, if you need me to edit like this guy, then why don't you get this guy to do your work? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's just preferences, but then again, you're right. Like, if you want something like this, then you can reach out to that guy. And I think whenever a creator says like, I want videos like this guy, I kind of just, it's like a deal breaker for me, because it's like this guy doesn't want to be distinctive. He just wants someone else's style.
He's just a cloud chaser.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of those out there, and it's really hard to find people that aren't.
Definitely.
So I'm very lucky to find the people that I already have, because I do not want to be put in a situation where I can't be like myself and I'm forced to edit like somebody else, because that just burns me out as an editor. And I guarantee you the guy's gonna undercharge as well, because the only reason why he's asking another editor to do someone else's editor's job is because they can't afford the other editor.
True. Well, but yeah, that's it. Just take care about that. Optimize your workflow. That's the tip to take away from this. But yeah, okay. Next question comes from Undo, and they ask, how tall is Kira?
Oh boy. I'm on the short end.
Don't worry, yeah, I'm on the short end too.
I'm 5'7".
I'm 5'8".
Well, there you go. That's question answered.
Short boys in the VC. Okay, don't bully us. Yeah. Rafe asks, can he give me some recoil clips?
I don't know. I'm very lazy about compiling clips. Someone else already asked me. You know what? I'll call him out too. One of the Obey members, actually lead editor in Obey currently, Obey Crunchy, wanted me to compile recoil clips, and haven't got to it yet. Not sure if I will, to be honest with you. I mean, I said I would, but I'm very lazy when it comes to that.
Okay.
Because I'm also dealing with limited hard drive space for my Shadowplay recordings. And I end up accidentally deleting my clips anyway after I work with them, so it's kind of, you know.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
don't know if that would happen or not.
Alright. Just get your own clips, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Recoil is fun. I'm gonna try it out. Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Next question comes. Well, it's not really a question. It's a meme, I guess. Jack says, "Give me the PFs. Give me the project files." Do you have a store?
You see, all right. I used to. I used to have a Selfie before Selfie kind of shut down, or well, it didn't shut down, but did their whole thing where they charge a monthly fee.
They
So, yeah, now they do.
What the heck? I did not know that.
That's why people switch to PayHip.
Yeah.
I actually have a PayHip. I secured my name. I have my name. It's just that I've never uploaded anything because even though, even back then, it was like a deal breaker for me. I was very against giving out project files because I felt like it was too many editors will use it the wrong way. I feel like there's too many people that would just try to copy what I do versus learn from what I do.
Yeah, I literally know people who buy project files, make presets out of the keyframes and then just paste them in their edits.
Right, exactly. There's too many of those people that are just willing to do that. It's kind of against my morals. I might make some side money, but I'd rather stick to my morals than make side money like that.
True. Well, next question comes. Actually, not a question. Another statement. Stopa says, "I run into this man every time I play Black Ops 2. Do you play a lot of Black Ops 2?
Yes, I play a lot of Butonia and BO2, and yeah, you better watch out if I'm in the lobby. I'll probably clip you once or twice.
Oh God.
I'm a very, very, very good aimer when it comes to COD, and I used to be with CS as well, but in CS:GO I kind of just I kind of every time I play CS:GO I can't play seriously anymore, so I just try to go for just random clips of 360s or something like that.
Okay. Well, getting featured in the next Kira montage. Okay.
Maybe.
All right. Okay. The last question on my tweet. There's actually a few on yours too, but the last question on my tweet comes from Simplies, and they say, "How did you and Turk Club meet?"
Yes, Simply is a big Terror Club fanboy. Yes, I know I'm calling you out on this because it's kind of weird. But, it is what it is. You're Simply. I've talked to you before. It is what it is. Either way, we met, what was it, in 2018?
Okay.
Somewhere around there, mid-2018. Ein, good friend of mine, started a team called Neru. And I kind of picked up Turk Club into Neru, and that's kind of where I met him. Okay. So, I mean, that's the simplest answer I can give. It's just that he joined the team that I was a part of, and I started talking to him.
Okay. So wait, which team was this?
Neru.
Neru?
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't know it.
Neru.
Oh.
Neru.
Okay, yeah, I think I've heard that. But never, I wasn't around in the community. Yeah. Well, I initially saw, the first edit I saw from Terror Club was the one, well, it wasn't his edit, it was the SFX he did for NorCal's montage. He did SFX for one of NorCal. You know NorCal?
Yeah, I know NorCal, yeah.
Yeah, so he did the SFX for Desolate, which was, I think, their 10K special or something.
Right.
and then I was that was like the first montage I ever watched, and I was like, what the fuck, who did the SFX? And that was the first montage that I like saw, like there was a completely new person who did the SFX. And yeah, he was good. And I used to look up to him, but then some differences came because he said something offensive about my religion, stuff like that. So
He's knowing Turklub as a person, he can be offensive and he just doesn't know it.
I mean, yeah, but it was like this was tweeted by Sense, and like, you know, he realized that he made a mistake and he deleted it, and then just to annoy everybody, I think Turklub just like copy pasted that tweet again, knowing that this was already a drama. But you know, I don't want to get more into that right now. I just, yeah, so right now I have some, you know, differences with him. But he's still a really good editor. Actually, recently the Raikkonen edit, like, I literally retweeted that edit. I was like, bro, I hate this man, but he's such a good editor. But yeah.
Little side note.
Yeah.
He's been quite inspired by me. Like that's what kind of got him into editing. He's been inspired by me for a long time, and
Yeah.
you know, I saw him. He joined Neru. You know, I talked to him. Seemed like a chill guy. You know, he's more on the meme type side. You know, uh
Make a
the
joke about
people
everything.
that yeah. So I mean, he's cool, but you know, obviously I can understand how he can offend some people.
Yeah.
But you know, I taught him how to do sound effects because like his style, it felt very similar to mine. And it's like I know you can like enhance that feeling if you were to understand how to do sound. Because before then he used to ear rape like crazy, so I kind of like taught him on like how clipping works and stuff like that.
Can I get private lessons too?
You'll just learn from the tutorial
Oh yeah. Okay.
when it comes out.
Yeah, when it
I don't
comes
know.
out.
I'll find time sometime because it's
Yeah.
definitely something I want to do. It's just finding time to do it.
Okay. Well, I'm waiting for that tutorial. I'm gonna DM you now. I'm added with you on Discord. I'm just gonna keep spamming every like week. Where's
You're not the only person.
Every week. I'm not the only person, but I am the consistent person. I am going to
Alright,
annoy
well,
you.
then I'm just gonna block you.
Oh no. uh, well, okay. Now I'm scared.
Nah, I wouldn't do that.
Well, okay. The final question comes from Vivin, and actually, I didn't read this before. Uh, he said, Akira, can you ask Audacity why his ego is so big?
Why is your ego so big, huh?
Okay, legitimately, I do not know why people think my ego is so big, because like, Vivian's one of my friends, obviously, but like a lot of people say this, but those are the same people who DM me, and I reply to them. I don't ego anybody's DMs unless their message request calls me the N-word. Other than that, I look at every message request, I reply to everybody, as long as they're not being like, you know, a dickhead. uh, I don't know why I have this reputation of having a big ego. I don't know.
I have no clue. I know that was the first time me hearing about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like more in the community that I sort of came up in, which was the Middle Eastern editing community, which
Oh,
is like,
so you're Middle Eastern, okay.
yeah, I'm from
So
I'm from
from where?
from Pakistan, you know, next to India.
Oh, okay, Pakistan. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like we didn't have an editing community like 2 years ago when I started, and so I was like, I and like three or four other people. Those were my first friends in the community. And then we made a community called Pakistan Editing Community, and then we actually, you know, brought a lot of attention to editing in this region, and then we later changed the name to Astral to avoid the own Pakistan only thing, and then yeah, but that I'm not in that team anymore. I don't run that anymore. They were but yeah, that's been basically like the best thing I've done. I made a whole community over 2 years. I think there were like 1,200 people in the server.
There's
But
a lot of Pakistani Arabian PUBG mobile editors.
yeah, because well, the thing is, PUBG Mobile is like the most played game here because in the Middle Eastern side, like, I'm not trying to be offensive. Obviously, this is my region, but it's sort of more less people have access to high-end gaming PCs here.
Right.
So most of the gaming is actually done on mobiles, and that's why like PUBG Mobile is like the biggest game in this region. It's like I think it has like 50, 60 million players, and
Well,
I'd guarantee 40 million are from this region.
I'm just going to say one thing that I feel like you know the reference to, and kind of semi ruined the competitive nature of those regions.
Mm-hmm.
Word.exe.
Well, yeah, I mean, true.
I guess you know what that is, huh?
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, we sort of just grew that community, me and my friends, and then a lot of people are in it now, and it's kind of makes me proud looking back at it. But I
Well, you
guess
should be proud too, because people like Starker, Tafa, Hamoon, all them, they're all Middle Eastern.
yeah, yeah, Starker is. I think yeah, actually all of them are Saudi Arabian.
Yes. Hamoud though, he doesn't live in Saudi. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in Canada. Wait, no, Canada.
yeah,
He's
Canada.
Canada. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's Canada.
Yeah,
If I remember
Canada.
correctly.
He is Canada because yeah, we did a
But
podcast with him, and
he's Saudi either way.
yeah, all of them are Saudi, and actually, I think Hamoud lives in Canada, but he's Saudi. But the other two also live in Saudi because I
Yep.
did a podcast featuring all three of them, and the time zones I have to adjust. But yeah,
Oh yes. Got completely different time zones, but yeah,
Yeah.
I talk to him all the time.
that's
Especially
why
Tafa.
So-
Tafa and I were really good friends.
Tafa. Yeah, I mean Tafa is actually a cool person. I've only talked to Starker off the podcast. I haven't talked to Hamoud or Tafa. I was actually at a couple of Tafa's streams, and
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Obviously,
We're really into cars, so that's what really made us like click. Is just because we're really into cars, and we also share editing as a thing. So
true. Well, actually, if you hear any horns or anything in the background, I'm sorry. Actually, that happens a lot in the podcast, but that's just because my room opens to the main road, and the main road has cars. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Well, other than that, yeah. So we were talking about egos, yes. But yeah, the thing is,
oh yes,
you know,
guys, I have a huge ego about it.
huge, inflated.
I had such a huge ego that I even got on this podcast. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I gotta talk to you guys because I'm way above all of
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
All right, now don't take that out of context. Clearly, I don't have any.
I mean, the thing is, I think since I grew that community, I actually like had quite a few people like arguments and stuff. Like you know how Enigma had all these fights with people after he made 323 all this big thing. I sort of had the same problems, but on a lower level, of course, because it was a smaller community.
I
But
get it
then,
completely.
Yeah,
You
and
know, people are human. People make mistakes.
then
You know, I view Tiago. Tiago definitely made some mistakes here and there,
yeah,
but I guarantee you probably made some mistakes here and there. But
Definitely,
it
I
is
did.
what it is. It's hard to run a community. I completely understand it.
Yeah, and especially like when you're trying to do something big. I was 14 when I started that. I'm 16 right now, and I was 15, and we're doing this big competition. It's like $350 worth of prizes, and I'm spending day and night organizing the whole thing. And people when the results come out, people say it was rigged, and I was so pissed, and I tweeted like stuff out of anger, and that was wrong. Obviously, I shouldn't have gotten triggered, but it just gets too much sometimes, and that's what happened with Enigma.
You get that every time though. It's
Yeah.
like it's hard to avoid stuff like that because
Definitely.
you got the fanboys of
Yeah,
certain people, and then they just kind of it's like, oh, because they're such huge fanboys, they're gonna say rigged if they don't get placed. I get it completely.
Yeah, and I did make mistakes. I admit to that, and I feel like it was sort of I grew from that, and now I'm better, and maybe that's because people think I have a big ego, but I swear to God, please forgive me. I do not have a big ego. You can ask my friends, man. Come on. Uh, but yeah, that sums up about the viewer questions, and the whole podcast. So at the end, what would you like to say at the end?
For people that are watching this, be inspired by everyday life. You know, like if you watch a movie and you really like what they did, if you're looking outside and see something happening, you know, it's okay to be inspired by things. But the whole point is to create something of your own capacity. Make something that you can view as like, I really made that. You know, like that's something very important, and I feel like there's so many people that just forget that part. So that's definitely one lasting thing that I gotta say. That's something that's been bothering me for quite a few years. Seeing people just full on copying rather than interpreting and creating something of their own. For example, we can go back into like old art. For example, you know, going back to art. You know, people always like I'm talking about like painting art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Artists always captured what they see in the real world and put it into art in their own way. You know, there's all you can tell one painting from another because you know every painter has their own style. When it comes to these foreign editors and some of these content editors, um, they're just copying what they see. They don't have their own touch to it, and you lose that like creative awesomeness that other editors view and like want to see more from the other person. I click off so many videos because like you just copied that. You know, you didn't really put effort into it. You know, it's a lot of people are probably going to think the same, even with the clout that you may have. You know, like think about it for a moment. Be a creative. Don't just copy what happened. That's definitely something I gotta say. That's very important.
That is actually very good advice. So yeah, you actually definitely I would love if more people started implementing that and started taking editing as art rather than a way to gain clout or make money. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Kira, for taking out the time and sit down to talk to me and everybody watching. It means a lot. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching.
And thank you for having me on.
Of course, it's an honor. And I will see everybody in the next week. Yeah, like, subscribe, watch previous episodes if you have the free time. And I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
See you, everybody.